when you want to take your performance and your consistency and the level of your success to another level, there are things playing out under the surface that are holding you back. You're going to need a lesson from the rejection that Brendan Smith may have experienced when the Roosters said he was surplus to their requirements for not just next year, but this year, and how that might have played out in your life and how it might still be holding you back today. I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. I was listening to a podcast over the weekend and they were talking about Brandon Smith's impending departure from the Roosters and joining the Rabbitohs. And there was James Graham talking, and he was saying how there'd be a feeling of almost rejection when a club's saying they're happy for you to go, you can move on with our blessing. We don't want you next year. And it's absolutely true. In any area of life, there can feel like, okay, well, you seem to have moved on without me pretty easily. It's hard not to take that personally, even in a professional environment. It really hit home for me when I took a voluntary redundancy. So I actually asked to leave my last job, and even though I chose to, it was still an element of rejection when they were more than happy to let me go, because then I started unpacking it and going, oh, they didn't really fight to keep me. They're pretty happy. Now, granted, the industry at the time was shrinking. It still is, pay television. But logic doesn't come into it. It's like there's a hurt there that goes back to moments of rejection from our very earliest days. If you've got a younger sibling, there's a rejection pattern that starts the moment that younger sibling comes home, that you're no longer the center of attention as the baby of the family. I've seen it with my own children. I've seen it happen with any number of people. So when that happens to someone like Brandon Smith in that environment, well, all of those feelings come flooding back. You can't help it. You can try and force it away, and logically, it doesn't make sense. You're going on to a better place where they're really going to value you and all these different things. He gets to work under Wayne Bennett, like what a blessing, but there's still an element of that. And if you've ever experienced redundancy where it hasn't been by choice, then there's definitely an element of that. And the rejection needs to be stared down and faced. Otherwise, you may just find it repeats. I noticed someone that I'm connected with on LinkedIn who I used to work with at Fox is experiencing the struggles of trying to get back into the workforce after having a redundancy and being a primary carer for his child, and then really struggling in that. And there may be that, yes, there's no jobs, but there's a subconscious psychological part of that, of rejection, of like, I'm not sure if I want to face that again. Like I've reminded you guys so many times, it's like, this is not, like, it's not a choice. It's not deliberate. It's not conscious. These things are playing out underneath, and then it shows up in our almost like self-sabotaging behaviors. So if you've ever experienced anything like that, it's not unusual. You're not alone in having felt that sense of rejection and felt that almost like isolation that comes with it. And it hurts. It does hurt. It can happen in business breakdowns. It can happen in relationship breakdowns of any kind, with family members, with partners, loss of a job even if you've moved on somewhere else and they didn't seem too concerned if you're leaving. Like, there's any number of ways that it can show up. And often we want to treat the moment, but like with anything, you've got to go to the root cause and explore some of those reasons why maybe there's that feeling of rejection. It doesn't mean anything horrendous happened to you in your youth. It just means that things like younger siblings turning up, that for me, nearly 3-year-old, it was a shock to the system, as it would for any 3-year-old. You immediately feel a disconnect from mother and father, and that pattern can then repeat in a whole lot of different ways. So self-awareness is the first step. Acknowledging where maybe some of that rejection's shown up, where maybe you don't feel like you fully belong, where you're not fully connected in certain environments, where past experiences of like feeling discarded or, places where maybe you weren't fully appreciated, they all can highlight rejection in an internal way, where you have like a bodily experiences where your body actually reacts. Stress, anxiety, fear, sadness, anger, all these different things. They're all normal, they're all natural, they're just part of the human emotional experience. So looking at those, and then next level is just to sit with and think, well, where might have this shown up? Now, for me, this stuff's sort of unraveled over years and years. Like the thing around the sibling, like my daughter said as I drove her home from the hospital when our son was born, she said, well, Mum, we get a new mum now. And I'm like, what do you mean, darling? She said, well, that mum's got a new baby. Like, that's how she articulated it at 2.5, what it felt like to be that rejection. Wow. Like, so that sort of really hit home for me. It wasn't until maybe much later that I realized that same rejection would have been playing out for me. It's something that I should have just joined the dots. Like, oh, yeah, I've got younger siblings, but it just took a while. So there's no rush for this, but the first step is always self-awareness, to sit with it, to have a look at where else it might have been showing up. For me, it was like when my mum was in hospital, my dad still had to work. I was getting looked after by family friends. As a 2.5-year-old, I probably didn't want to do that. I probably didn't want to be away from my mum or my dad, and there's an element of rejection there, or a lack of safety. All of these things come into it, and all these feelings come flooding back in these moments where they happen later, where you want to be this strong person. Particularly if you're a male, you're expected to carry yourself in a certain way, but the reality is you're going to feel, and it's important to feel. It's important not to suppress those emotions. We've grown up being told how to feel. We've grown up, had it modeled to us to suppress, but it is the wrong way to go about it. Because those feelings of rejection, like I said, can not just play out in how you're feeling, but it can mean you repeat the same patterns, and that sense of rejection will keep showing up in other areas. I've seen it with people who have been made redundant. I've seen it with mates who have had that experience, but also after relationships, I've experienced it with clients, helping them unravel those pieces so that they can find new connections, new jobs without that baggage. Because the baggage is the bit that slows you down. The baggage is the bit where you think, why can't I shift this? Why can't I make these changes? Why can't I get this new job? Why can't I have this new relationship? Why am I still having these battles with these people in my life, family, partner, children, all of these things? It's because the pattern's still repeating. It felt like a bit of a rant, but it's all true, right? It's all so important for you to address if you want to be the best possible performer. If you want that level of consistency, if you want to let go of that self-doubt that shows up, if you want to remove that overthinking, is to unravel these pieces of us. Often, like I just described with my experience, they're not these huge, scary moments that we think they are. They're just normal day-to-day events that happen in childhood, and our tiny, young, developing brain creates the best possible response to make sense of it. And it makes sense at the time and it helps at the time, but then the pattern repeats in older years, and those patterns just do not work. They do not compute, and they're not helpful. And your goal is to change them, because when you do, it will set you free, and you will marvel at what you are able to create at the level of performance that you can reach. You know you're capable of more. You know you can produce a high output, and you know you can reach high levels. And this is how you do it. As always, if you're looking for someone trusted that works in this area, that has done this time and again for myself first and foremost, and for also other people, then reach out, start the conversation, jump onto my socials, have a look at the other stuff that I'm doing. If something resonates, shoot me a message. What's the worst that could happen? I say it's not something I can help with, and I point you in the right direction. I send you a resource that's going to be helpful, or who knows, maybe you're ready for that coaching and we can accelerate that journey. Because you can do all this on your own. It'll take you years. For me, I've been working on this stuff for about 14 years, and you make progress, but you know what sped it up is having a coach. And I've got a coach myself, and I've had one since I started this personal development journey, apart from a few small times where I thought I could do it on my own. But what I quickly realized is it's just so much better to have someone to bounce ideas off and to help you see a different perspective, because you can't see the picture in the frame. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.